everyone. Our lesson for today is all about types of speech contexts and types of speech styles. I'm going to show you different kinds of pictures and you are going to describe those pictures. So the first picture is this one. What can you say about this picture? Yes, maybe a guy talking to himself in front of the mirror. Very good. The next one. What can you say about this picture? Two people talking. Very good. This one. Yes, maybe they are having a discussion or a group study. And this one, a professor teaching his students. This one, they're having a meeting. And last, what can you say about this picture? A broadcaster. What is a context? The set of circumstances or facts that surround a particular event, situation, etc. So in speech, context refers to three things. The first one is the person speaking, the situation or event or the occasion, and number three, the person being addressed or spoken to or the receiver. A person is exposed to several communication contexts in his or her everyday life. Do you agree? Yes. And these contexts can either be intrapersonal or interpersonal. Now, let us first discuss what is intrapersonal communication. Intrapersonal communication is a communication with oneself. Talking to oneself in front of a mirror and thinking out loud are two instances of intrapersonal communication. Talking to yourself is normal and beneficial because it gives you the chance to pause and plan carefully before doing or saying anything. Intrapersonal communication can help you avoid doing or saying something detrimental to yourself or anything harmful to others. Interpersonal communication can also help motivate you toward achieving your goals. So have you ever tried talking to yourself in front of the mirror while you're taking a bath or you're brushing your teeth? So that is an example of an intrapersonal communication. Just like, for example, an actor internalizes roles they are to play so they can act naturally and believably. So that is an example of interpersonal communication. Another, when a scientist do a lot of self-talk, especially when they are in deep thought while conducting experiments or solving problems. And number three, another example, an artist are known to have great interpersonal skills. Writers and painters imagine various scenarios that serves as their inspiration for composing novels, poems, movies, or making artwork. So those are an example of interpersonal communication. Why is interpersonal communication important? Do you have an idea? Okay, so interpersonal communication is very important, which is why many people need time to be alone so they can think or communicate with themselves. So there are times when you're alone, for example, you're taking a bath or you're doing something, and then you just say, oh, I should have done this and that. Okay, next time I'm going to do this and that. So that is an example of interpersonal communication. Now let's proceed to interpersonal communication. Communication with one or more persons. It could be face-to-face or via a gadget such as a cell phone. Conversations, interviews, and casual talks are examples of interpersonal communication. Talking or interacting with others, whether face-to-face, your group mates are having a discussion or group discussions for your report. So that is another example for interpersonal communication. Or via gadgets is an essential part of life. An example for interpersonal communication is when your family are having some casual conversations, or you are being interviewed for a job. So that is an example of interpersonal communication. Your groups are having a group discussion or group study for a particular task, and like your everyday communication with your neighborhood. So those are an example of interpersonal communication. Intrapersonal and interpersonal skills are valuable skills in informal, academic, and professional contexts, or in any context that matter. These skills have been classified as intelligences according to the theory of multiple intelligences proposed by American developmental psychologist Howard Gardner. So Gardner defines interpersonal intelligence as the capacity to understand oneself, to appreciate one's emotion, interest, fears, and motivations or goals. This intelligence is more reflective and seeks to be in tune with inner feelings, looking for intuition, connections, patterns, and wisdom. This is therefore more critical thinking centered and is concerned with a person's reflections on their own changing thoughts and emotions. On the other hand, Gardner defines interpersonal intelligence as the capacity to experience the intentions, interests, desires, fears, and motivations or goals of other people. This intelligence is therefore much more openly interactive, seeking personal connections and discussions with others as a prime tool to appreciate with what one person or more be communicating. This is therefore more an ability to have interest in and or empathy for other people's views. Okay, so that is all about interpersonal and intrapersonal communication. I hope you have understand something. Now I have here 5 scenarios, and you are going to tell me, you are going to identify whether this scenario is an example of interpersonal communication or it is an intrapersonal communication. Number 1, an actor practicing his role as a ghost. Is that an example of an interpersonal or intrapersonal communication? Yes, it is an example of intrapersonal communication. Number 2, a son video calling his dad via Skype. Very good. It is an example of interpersonal communication. Number 3, an artist choosing which color to choose for his canvas. Yes, it is definitely an example of intrapersonal communication. A singer rehearsing her vocal piece in front of a mirror. Yes, it is an example of interpersonal communication. And last, your cute neighbor greeting you every time you pass by every morning. Yes, very good. It is an example of an interpersonal communication. Now let's proceed to appropriate verbal and non-verbal behavior. Appropriate verbal and non-verbal behavior. In public speaking situations, the audience will exhibit both positive and negative behavior. Among the positive behaviors that an audience may exhibit, the following: clapping of hands in a timely manner, smiling and laughing appropriately. On the other hand, the following are some of the negative behaviors that an audience may show: shaking of one's head, yawning, dozing off, talking and frowning, These nonverbal cues reveal the attitude of an audience toward a speaker or toward his or her speech. Similarly, a speaker must also show or avoid a certain nonverbal cues. Public speakers, being open to general observation, must be conscious of how they conduct themselves on stage or before their audience. Everything from their choice to posture to the manner of dressing is subjective to the scrutiny and judgment of the audience. Thus, a speaker must be respectful and sensitive to his or her audience. He or she should avoid derisive, vulgar, indecent, or offensive language. Moreover, he or she should be careful of his or her gestures, facial expressions, and body language so as not to offend anyone. Now let's proceed to the speech style. So, speech style is the way in which something is said, done, expressed, or performed, and it corresponds to specific speech context. Intimate conversations take place between persons of close alliances or relationship. For example, married couples, lovers, and family members. Casual conversations typically takes place between classmates or your friends or your co-workers. Consultative conversations takes place between professionals such as doctors and lawyers and their patients and clients. So there is marked difference in the language used, degree of formality, and manner of expression each style due to the different types of people involved and their degree of closeness. By simply listening in, one can recognize the speech style used by two people engaged in a conversation. In the same manner, it is also not very difficult to employ this style appropriate to the situation and the person you are talking to. Now let's go to the formal speech styles. Do you have any idea what the formal speech style? What are the examples of formal speech styles? Formal speech styles such as the president's sauna are prepared in advance and follow strict rules in word choice and content. It is a leader's report to his or her constituents delivered in Congress in front of an audience dressed in formal attire. Even so, even if the president uses humor in some points or some parts of his speech, such humor is well chosen, and each fits the stature of the presidency and the occasion. So this is an example of formal speech style, the president's sauna. Now let's go to the frozen speech style. So the frozen speech styles follows much stricter rules in wording, consent, and format. They may not be changed as they are permanently inscribed in a document, such as the preamble of the Philippine Constitution or a dedication on a commemorative marker for a historical site or a plaque of appreciation. Therefore, speakers of frozen speech merely read from the source. Further, they can employ an oratorical style of delivery to lend more formality to the speech. So this is an example of a frozen speech style, the preamble of the Philippine Constitution. In speech, register refers to a variety of language or a level of usage as determined by a degree of formality and choice of vocabulary, pronunciation, and syntax according to the communicative purpose, social context, and standing of the user. So for your assignment, you're going to identify the register commonly used in the following and explain your answer briefly. We have here number 1, valedictory speech. And number 2, Gandang Gabi Vice Talk Show. Number 3, teacher's lecture. Number 4, sales talk of iStore. Number 5, family conference regarding a family problem. So you are going to identify the register in the following. You're going to write this in a one-whole sheet of paper, and this will be submitted on Monday, March 31, 2021 at 9:30 a.m. to 11 a.m. So this is all for today. I hope you learned something. Thank you.